That song and this cup of beautiful community coffee can only mean one thing. It's time for another Toter Tales brought to us by our great friends, ERS Gunite. My boy Tyler Boston down there. Oh, I love that song. It's my daughter's favorite song, actually. Yeah, true story. That's the one she wants to play. Here we are. We're back. It is cold in Oklahoma, but it's heating up. Welcome to mi casa. This is where the magic happens. This is where I have my lessons. This is where when I video, I come in, I watch it on the TV. We break it down frame by frame. You can see my beautiful, that's an original, ladies and gentlemen. That is an original Bradley Chance Hayes. Went to college with him. That's right, good buddy of mine. He'd always let me on his calf horse, and I was terrible. And he always let me on there. You can obviously see right here below my Armor All, or my Lysol, you know. It's cold season. Gotta have them. But got the family picture. My first trip to the Indian National Finals. So, this is where I'm going to try to shoot these podcasts when I'm home. Maybe have a few guests. Maybe have some people on my couch here to talk to about. And welcome back. Toter Tales, brought to us by our friends ERS Gunite, Tyler Boston. All right, you check him out, 972-935-5769. Any of your concrete needs. I'm telling you, they can hook you up. They can do it. Boy, he was sticking out there. He went to the World Series Finals. He went out there, borrowed my horse, and stuck it on him. Made my horse look really good. Tyler Boston, good friend of mine. This was his brainchild. He said, man, you got to try this. And I said, man, you're crazy. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll buy the stuff if you'll try it. So here I am, Toter Tales. Welcome to December. All right, it's cold. Obviously, I've still got my vest on because my office is not heated that much. I don't use it a lot in the winter, but here we are. Got my wild rag on. Been doing a little ranching today. Not much though. I was actually just cutting the hay string and always unrolling all the hay for the cows and trying to keep everybody nice and warm. Christmas season's coming up. We've just gotten back from Las Vegas. It's been a good trip. And let's start off with a little NFR recap. You know, it's going to be my first solo flight, if you will. Like, this is no guest today, just me. So, had some questions we're going to get to. But at first, let's do a little NFR recap. Busy 2 weeks. So, to paint the picture for you, we leave Oklahoma. We've just had Thanksgiving. We always host it. It's one of my favorite holidays. Everybody comes to the ranch. We kick it. I mean, it's sweats. I mean, we try to get a picture, but we've been really bad about not taking the family picture before we eat. And then the problem is when you don't get it before you eat, everybody's asleep. So it's stretchy pants and good times at my house in Thanksgiving, because then we fly out Sunday afterwards. We go out there. We're out in Vegas for 2 weeks. Steph's mom goes. My mom goes. I mean, the whole family. And it's a battle. It's been great the last couple of years. Purina puts us up at a really cool condo deal, a little residence in where you kind of got your own little, I don't even know, like an apartment house. It's not like a casino hotel, which is nice because then, you know, if we haven't won the round, we can leave, you know, before the barrel race and watch it on the Cowboy Channel on the way back to the room and have like a nice normal dinner and go to bed, because I think that's something that's so important that I've learned now in my older days. Speedy always tried to tell me, hey, rest every day, no matter what happens, slow down and rest. And I try to take a nap every day, but of course you're super busy. We got things going every direction. We got a lot of great people that help us, and we have the opportunity to go support those companies. And during the day, I get to meet all my friends and family and fans and, you know, everybody that gets to visit. So, but it's nice with the kids to keep that normality, you know, not every night go out and entertain somebody or go out and have a good time. Not that I'm much of a partier anymore. I do try to buck, but I'm more like a little Shetland pony. Couple hops. About all I got in me now. But we had a big time. This was so much fun this year. Got to do the show again with Luke Branquino. A lot of fun out there on the Purina stage. Thank you to everybody that came and visited us. We had a big crowd every night. It was a lot of fun. I love getting to talk about feeding greatness. It's not just what we feed our horses, but what we feed tomorrow's generation, the next people. And that's something that, you know, you can pull from every one of our great Purina ambassadors. Every one of them has a great piece of advice. They all have fun stories. And it's great to get to know the backside of them, you know, like what makes them tick, what's been happening, you know, the inside scoop, if you will. Maybe not the backside. That would be a little weird. But, you know, just the inside scoop. And I love that. And that's kind of where, you know, we try to do here at the Toter Tales is get inside. Let's hear some funny stories. You know, I like hearing fun stuff, funny things, keeping rhythm. But it was fun. Got to do the show. So my normal day there, I get up with the time change. I was always fighting not waking up about 4 a.m. And I was really fighting not watching some steer roping videos. I'll be honest with you. But uh, jump up. I'd take off. I'd start signing on autographs maybe at the convention center, and then I'd come back, get a quick lunch with Steph. The kids would probably be at her mom's, hanging out at her. She gets a room in the same place, so they can just go over with her. They decorate the tree. They make their signs. It was so cute because Stella always holds the one that says number 29's my daddy, right? Except for she puts it in the window at the condo, so when you drive in the parking lot, there's a poster that says number 29's my daddy, and I'm like, we might turn that around. Team Proctor looks better out the window than that. But so the kids might be asleep. Steph and I maybe get like a normal little dinner or lunch, quick bite. I get to fasting before I go out there so that so these Wranglers fit right. But in Vegas, you just kind of got to eat when you can, and so we try to have a nice lunch. Tiff comes by the room, picks me up at 2:30. She takes me back out to the rig. I change. I get all my stuff together. I go to the show. Start shooting that show at 4 o'clock. So they want us up here at 3:45. Usually I leave the room by about 3. I'm at the arena, kind of getting my notes together. I might rope the dummy for a minute, just kind of get my thoughts together. Go to the show, hang out, and visit with them for a little while. I got to kick off the second show. They had a second one this year. It was so much fun. Sarah Sword, Jordan Joe Hollenbaugh, even Kimmy Wall was on there. A lot of great girls they were great. It was fun. It was, it took our show that Luke and I have started, and it just took it further and better, and it really was awesome. And it was great, and it got a lot more crowd interaction, closer to game time. Of course, by then, I would introduce that show, 4:45. I say hi to my mom, sister. We take a picture, and then I'd jet back to the rig. That's when Steph and the girls would show up. We take a picture every night, because I don't know if you guys see it or not, but my wife dresses my kids so cute. I mean, adorable. It's amazing. And so we try to take one picture every night. And then I think down the road somewhere, you'll look back and you love seeing those pictures of like how much the kids have grown and the outfits they wore. So do that. Steph always puts my back number on, and she'll say a little prayer when she does it every time. It's kind of our little tradition, our thing. And I get my back number on. I go up the dummy. I got about an hour till game time. I've got all the steers on video. Got them all cataloged into my computer. So the first 3 rounds, they're just out of the break-in. So, and I'll send them to some guys, my buddies like T. Wade, Jake Long, of course, the minor boys, guys that have always kind of been like, hey, you mind sending me your video? And I was like, yeah, you bet. So I send all the videos to the guys, send them to my partner, and shows him what we got tonight. I go rope the dummy a little bit, and then it's time for the grand entry. Got to carry the Oklahoma flag. That's such a cool thing. I've been so jealous of Jake Long for years because he's from Kansas, so he carries a Kansas flag, because how you get to carry the flag is you have to win the most money of anybody at the finals from your state. So it was a really cool deal. Got to carry it this year. Hawk, my backup horse, did an amazing job. I was kind of worried about that. He's a little bronky, but it was great. I got to post the Oklahoma colors every night, and then we'd rope, and then, if you did good, you're at the media room, you're doing interviews. If you did mediocre or bad, then you're back upstairs. I got the girls their goldfish, and we grab us some cinnamon glazed pecans and almonds and jet her on back to the room, because it is a 2-week grind. And I think looking back now, it's kind of one of those things that going forward, I've got to approach the mental side of that a little more than I do actually like the roping side of things. But one of the funnest things I have is so many friends out there, and we rope the dummy every night. One day I'm roping the dummy, and Tyler Wade comes walking by. Me and T. Wade, we're boys, like we're buddies. We shoot it back and forth. I'm gonna make him get on here one day, and we're going to tell a lot of fun stories. But one of my favorite things that happened this year was, it's early. I mean, it might be the day after the break. I mean, it's early. I don't even know if the rodeo started. But he comes by, and I've got some little drills I've developed on the dummy that kind of help me with my rope control. Because roping the dummy for me anymore, like I'm kind of older, things hurt. I enjoy roping the dummy. Like I enjoy that time out there, just me and thinking and roping. And like JoJo, he did an article the other day talking about it. It's just a sweet time that like nobody's, you're not having to solve the world's problems. You're just roping, and you're just, maybe you're thinking stuff in your head about how your horses are working or whatever. Well, it's a lot like my golf game anymore. Like if I go practice at the range, like I don't hit a lot of driver anymore. You know what I mean? Like I don't stand at the dummy and reach 3 coils anymore. Like I get close and I work on what I would call my chipping of my heading, if you will. I work a lot on my delivery, and I got some little drills I developed that help me. And T-Wade come walking up, and he's like, hey man, where do you want your curl at? I was like, well, I want it to come behind his head there. No, not when you're tripping. when you team rope. I'm like, I want it to come behind his head there, over there by that right horn. I want it to lay over there. I mean, I think the coolest thing in the world, if you're going to miss one like Cody Snow does. Like, he whips it off the right. You know what I mean? Like, his head loop is so nasty. Like, when it comes across the horns, it's coming with some zass, if you will. And if it's a little late getting his slack, he might whip it off the right. Like, that's how he misses. Like, how I miss, I might hit Logan. I mean, I might hit the steer in the back of the head so hard that my loop stands up. I mean, I don't have that cool miss like Cody Snow. So I've been working on getting my curl to come all the way around the back of his head. And my thinking there is that if I'm a little late with my slack, I want it to hang out behind his head. I don't want it off to the left. So T-Wade, he tells me, he's like, well, I want mine to stop to the left. And I was like, you want it to hang out down there? And he's like, yeah, man, that's where, if I miss my slack, I want it to stay right there to the left. And I said, well, I'd be worried about waving it off or getting a front leg or, I don't really know. I don't want mine there. And he's like, oh, you really want yours behind the back of the right horn? I'm like, well, sure, yeah. He goes, well, you're not tripping. I was like, I know, I'm heading. So we get going. And I said, stop. Just stop. Hey, let's discuss this at Odessa, maybe Denver, next year. Not right out here at the national finals. Not when you and I both need to come out here and make a living. We'll talk about this later. And I think that's something that's fun. Like we joked about it all week. That night T-Wade got one around the shoulders. And I said, where did you put your curl there tonight? And then when I won round 5, there's a picture and my curl's off over there to the left. And T-Wade's like, now see, there you're getting it. Now you're starting to get it. But it's awesome. It's fun. And I love that camaraderie, that you have with the other guys. And just like doing the show with Luke, I talk about it a lot because Luke is such a cool, Luke Branquino, for those that maybe didn't watch the show, Luke Branquino, he is the funnest guy. And he's jokey and he's funny. And I think that's why I get along with him so well, because on the surface, he's kind of laid back, easy going, but he is a fierce competitor. I mean, obviously the guy has 5 world champion buckles in the Bulldog, and he said only one person has one more. And that was some guy maybe back in the 60s or something. I don't really know. Any Bulldoggers don't be like, now listen, here's the deal. I don't really know. I didn't research it well, just going off what I was told. But I love getting to pick his brain because that's a guy that's had a lot of success out there at the national finals. And, and he's had some slow years too. And that is natural. That's a natural thing that happens. If you make the national finals enough times, you're going to have down years. You're going to have great years. It gets to be so stressful because it is our whole year wrapped up into 10 days. So, it's fun to get to visit with him and talk and bounce stuff back and forth. Last year he got to telling me, hey, man, just get aggressive, charge the front. So that's kind of been our thing. And now we got our own little booty-shaking celebration, if you will. And I need a sip of this signature blend today from Community Coffee. Get you some signature blend. Today was a signature kind of day. She's a little darker roast. She's got a little more stand up tight and get right, But I had a great time with Luke, getting to visit with him a lot. The guys, John Wayne, Asa, they were handling the ranch while I was gone. And it's always I don't talk to them a whole lot that 2 weeks, right? And by saying that is not that we're not great friends and we don't love to visit. I'm just going 90-0, right? And so downtime, I turn my phone off. I put it on silent. I go to sleep. I try to get rest because you don't want to get sick out there. It's a miserable week if you're sick. And but we joke back and forth. If I'm not doing well this year, we had our Pro Fantasy Ranch League, which I won. Asa won second. It was awesome. But it was funny because Asa texted me a picture one night. And I had caught the steer. It was one of the rounds we did really good. And I've got this look on my face like, he's like, hey, man, what's wrong with you? Why don't you try taking a better picture when you throw your rope? I'm like, Asa, I got so much more going through my head than what I look like. I'm just trying to make stuff happen out here. So I've got to start working on my not having my worried release, if you will. I got the look on my face like I'm worried. And then I realized, too, I stick my tongue out a lot. Just, I mean, it's everywhere. I can't keep that rolling. And then, of course, I don't know if you guys have checked it out on Facebook any. It's been bouncing around there. Had a little dance-off. And the backstory on that, this gentleman walked up and he said, hey, you owe me a dance-off from 2019. I said if I won the round, I was at the East Area Finals in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we were there, had a little reception dance deal, and I cut a jig maybe, just a little bit. Not even a lot of it, just a little bit. And he said, hey, you win the round, we're having a dance-off South Point stage. And I said, you're on. And then I roped terrible, so I didn't have to have that. And then I saw him this year. He's like, you still owe me a dance-off. And I'd seen him the other week, and I kind of joked about it. I was like, yeah. Well, then he showed up, round 10, Purina booth. And that's what happens. Like, he walks up, and he's like, hey, man, I'm here, you know. It's like I told David Nelson, my great guy at Purina. He's kind of the producer of the show. He said, Coleman, that scared the crap out of me. What were you doing? You're jumping over the rail. Like, what are you doing? I want you to hurt yourself. I said, I don't know what the backstory is. Maybe he works for a competing feed company. You know, maybe he comes walking in here talking some trash, and I'm here trying to feed greatness. I'm not backing down from a dance off. Let's have it. So I didn't go full tilt, you know, just went a little bit. And, you know, he conceded. I didn't get to do my little hand-over-hand tuggle man. I didn't get to drive that semi of sexy, but we had a good time. And which brings me to my first signature moment. It was awesome yesterday. Charlie Buchanan had called me from Signature Equine down in Stephenville, Texas. And he told me, because I maybe have told him about me dancing. Actually, how it was Dr. Stroh is a dancer, and he actually like break dances. You know, he can do it. And I kind of maybe I made a joke. I don't remember how the whole deal got started, but like Dr. Stroh, he wants it. He said, hey, we're going to have it, and here's what's going to happen. So, I mean, I've been able to dance around it, if you will. But Charlie Buchanan called me yesterday to tell me, like, hey, man, if that was your A game, you might have oversold your bill of goods. So, sounds like I need to be sharpening up because Stroh brings mad breakdancing heat. So, I'm more Magic Mike'ing, maybe Magic Will. Man, I'm not exactly Magic Mike. Not good in sweats. Let's put it that way. But it was great. That's our signature moment. Dr. Charlie Buchanan bringing out the heat, telling me if I'm going to break dance against Dr. Stroh, I better be sharpening up the old skills, if you will. Big thanks to my people at Signature Living Quarters. That's your signature moment. Don't back down from a dancing challenge. You know what I mean? And don't be scared to bring it. So if it ends up on social media, you know, keep your clothes on. That's all. We had a big time out there. In fact, one night, got to take the limo, right? So the first limo ride we had of the week, party van. And you know, my daughters get in there. They're big into waitressing. I don't get that, which is kind of fun because I always talk about when I retire, I will be a waiter at Los Cocos Mexican Restaurant, best Mexican restaurant in all of Mays County, right? Ask for the Coleman Special or the Diamond Bar. Dessert. Anyways, so I always make that joke. My wife hates that joke, by the way. But I wasn't really joking because as a kid, you know, in 4-H, we would always work. The vet had a big appreciation dinner, and we always got to work it. And I loved it. Like, I loved, you know, walking around serving people their food and this and that. And I just think my personality, I would fit that bill pretty good. I know that I would fit that a lot better than if I had to go back working construction for my buddy Scott McGill. You know, that's a hard way to make it. So I think, man, I could do better in tips than I could walking the iron, if you will. So my daughters are big into this waitressing. So the first night we're in the limo, we're walking around. Boy, they're pouring bottles of water and all the glasses and stuff. We're just making a mess of everything. It's fun. We're having a good time. The second limo ride we get, all right, it has a pole in the back. Now this is a PG show, but I'm gonna illustrate. This pole is made for dancing, and my daughters are on it. They're spinning around. Well, by the time I get in there, I'm like, have we sanitized this pole? Like, hold on, girls. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, except a few things that can travel back. So let's wipe that pole down real fast. Well, then I think it gets mentioned about it being a stripper pole, if you will. And then my daughter's like, we love the stripper pole, Daddy. I'm like, whoa, girls. That is a fireman's pole. And sometimes when firefighters get in a big vehicle together, they like having a pole that they can hold on to for safety. Because I just know my daughter Stella, and she's such a talker, and she's a visitor. And when she comes home from 2 weeks in Vegas and goes back to pre-K, her teacher's going to say, hey, Stella, how was your trip? And she's going to be like, it was awesome. I was dancing on the stripper pole in the back of the limo, having a good time. And I want her walking in there saying, hey, I was on the fireman's pole swinging around. I'm like, oh, my. Which they got their daddy's moves and their mama's looks, so who knows? Sky's the limit, you know? But we had a good time. Signature moment. My boy Charlie Buchanan called me yesterday to give me my Admiral update. I know a lot of people have been concerned about him. Sounds like he's doing great. He's going to be back firing in action for 2023. Hopefully have him back for the summer. Sounds like that's a real possibility. He's doing really well. Doing a lot of fun. Having a good time. I got back, you know, we flew home Sunday. We get back kind of early flight. We go hit Los Cocos for our annual home from the finals dinner. Visit with everybody, kind of catch up, then go home just to, you know, take a shower in your own shower, lay down in your own bed. be home for the first time in 2 weeks. But I'm steer tripping this year, and we're gonna hit it hard. We're gonna go hard. I'd love to make the finals. We're gonna really make a push at it, and I understand where I'm at in steer roping, so I know that I don't have time. Like I take a little time off from heading when I come home and turn the horses out. Actually Tiffany, she takes the rig from the finals. She goes to her place in Arizona, lays over, and then she'll deliver it home. And so they get a little time off. I take a little time off, but I knew that I can't afford time off to be competitive in the steer roping against those guys. So John Wayne has been busy. He made me a sled where I can put a steer on it and keep the steer kind of strapped down where he doesn't kick me. I can tie. We made a dummy horse that we pull behind a truck where I can work on getting off. And I call it the Ledge Maker. For those of you who don't know, guy, the Ledge Allen, he won him 190,000th World Series. That's cool to see. It was awesome. Actually, in his read-up, I see that first he'd only ever won 25,000. Was the biggest check he'd won before that. That's amazing to me. It's awesome where rodeo has gotten to nowadays. But anyways, I got my Ledge Maker 2000 out, and I've been after it. So we started Monday, right back into the steer roping, working on my ground game, working on catching, getting Cheeto loped back, because Cheeto's got a ledge on him, but he is fresh, and he is chunky, and he likes to buck whenever he's fresh. So we know we had some cowboy and stuff to do, little things to catch up on here and there. J-Dub been walking around just J-Dubbing. Asa, that's what's fine. I told him, I said, guys, we need to start creating our own shirts. Like, we need some Diamond Bar Ranch shirts, because things get said every day. Like, it might be Friday, and I'll be like, Asa, how's it going? He's like, Diamond Bar Ranch, every day's a Monday. I'm like, no, it's not that bad, is it? Anyway, so it's fun. We're back after it. J-Dub, he's been J-Dubbing with me. We've been ranching, we've been roping, and we've been working on that steer tripping every day. And Tiffany, actually, when she drove the rig back out, got the horses home, Heisman was glad to be in his turnout, back in his stall. Hawk, he was right to work. I've been laying some steers down on Hawk, so I was glad to have both of them back at the ranch and tell them what a great job they did. And Tiffany asked me, she said, so what did we learn this year? Like, what's your evaluation? You've had a little time away from it now. And I said, I'll be honest with you, when I come home, I don't think about it much. Like, I've loaded all the videos. I kind of watched them more just for fun and not really breaking it down yet, because I'm a big break it down person. I got to analyze things, and it takes me a second to digest. But I didn't want to, I wanted to enjoy it. We had a good finals. It was great. We won, 90-some thousand, not quite 100, which you're always wanting to go out there and win about 200, but I did some good spins. I did some not great spins. And I told her, I said, I hadn't thought a lot about it yet. She asked me that before she left. And then when she got out here, she hung out with me one day. We went and tied the steers and piddled around. And then she got it back on a plane and headed back to Arizona. And when we were when we were driving, she said, so what did we learn this year? What'd you think? And I said, well, here's what I think. And so here's my Coleman Proctor breakdown of where he's at with his NFR career. I feel comfortable about my preparation for my horse. I feel great about where I have Heisman every time I get him out there. I feel great about the protocol that Tiff does with him while he's there, and I feel great about all the stuff that CEP does, having him prepared for us to get ready. Dr. Charlie Buchanan always has him feeling great, and so he's always in a great spot. And performance-wise, I have him just free enough in the beginning of the rodeo that I can catch. The steers are stronger. Things are happening faster, and you don't need your horse to be a little short. In 2019, if you remember, I had a terrible finals. I mean, terrible. And when I came home, I made the comment, I said, that wasn't a bad finals if I learned from it and it helps me in the future. So since then, when I went out there in 2019, I had my horse way too tight. Like, he was too tight from the start. I wanted to win good right off the bat. I wanted to get caught up to Clay Smith that year. Like, I was coming for bear. But I had my horse too tight. I was preparing for that way too early. So I had him way too tight to start the rodeo. And then I was behind the 8 ball from the word go. So now I've been trying to have him a little too free, have him a little runny where he's running through my throw a little bit too much. Maybe the timing isn't perfect. But then as the rodeo progresses, and even so, like round 2, we were 3-9, and just had an unfortunate inside leg. Things like that happen. I could have set the steer and squared him off just a little straighter where he wouldn't have had to reach around him quite as bad. But it's like as the rodeo progresses, like he starts getting tighter and in tune. And then it's like as the rodeo gets tighter, he's getting tighter, and then we're staying with the competition. And then I've still got enough juice left at the end of the week to still turn the steers in rounds 8, 9, 10, because one of these years it's going to come down to rounds 8, 9, or 10 for a gold buckle for me, and I want to make sure that my horse is ready for it. And so I've been very comfortable. I've been very excited that my prep game has really stepped up since 2019. I have a better understanding of it now, where my horse needs to be. I understand my job now better and where I'm more effective. You know, I can't throw in the box like Dustin Egaskiza. And those guys don't throw in the box. They throw as fast as you possibly can. You know, they do some very impressive things. And I go a little bit further than them. And I try to keep my run out in the center a little more. You know, gives my horse a little more room coming up the left wall. I was very tickled with how he handled the left wall. And I loved it. Like, it feels like Heisman always looks for the best place to get. Like, if I'm coming across the arena and I think we should go straight, it's almost like he senses, like, no, I need to come back just a touch more, and he steps up into the wall where he can finish better. It's a weird sixth sense that he has, and it's awesome. I mean, it's something I've gotten to where I rely on, and it's a lot of confidence that I know that I'm going to ride Heisman every time, you know. Another sip of this beautiful community cup. Look at this cup they gave me. Look at that. Big congratulations to all the community coffee guys that made the finals, and the world champion, Title Wags Pack. Here's to you. Man, that signature blend is doing it today. But I feel great with Heisman. Feel great where he's at. Now, I do feel like I had a weakness this year that got found that I didn't know I had. You know, we rope every day. We might run 70 a day when my partner comes up. And Asa is on top of it. He is making me do push-ups. Like, if you watch that dance off, the way I got to, get them push-ups off the ground, that's great form because I had a lot of practice. Whenever I'd miss, I told Asa one day in the practice pen, I said, you know, I was like, I'm tired of missing. No more missing. And I said, in fact, it's 10 push-ups every time I miss. And I think this is great for any of you out there really trying to get better. Make it worth something to you. I don't want to have to do push-ups, right? I was working out every morning. I've already worked out. I don't want to have to do more workout. And it wasn't the act of doing the push-ups. It's more the humility of getting off your horse, doing them in the dirt, right? Because then it makes that steer, your pride's hooked to it a little more. And I think that's where you can put the pressure on yourself in the practice pen that really comes out at the rodeo. Like, that's the same kind of feeling. It's the best way to replicate it for myself. So I was doing a lot of push-ups if I missed. And I told Tiff, I said, the trick's going to be moving forward. When it's game time, every day, be it the first steer, you know, maybe the 15th steer, there needs to be one steer that I show up and all the chips are on the table today for this steer. He's worth 100 push-ups. Because what's hard about the national finals for me is it's 10 days. You know, we go to a lot of ropings that are like your NFR setups. Even we got the NFR and the 918. But you run 10 in a row. Boom, 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 boom. And it's easy to stay in rhythm. It's easy to go off that momentum that you had off a good run in the last round or bounce right back if you had made a bad run in the last round. So what was hard for me was getting that center every day. You know, I did great the first 5 rounds. I was happy with how I performed. And then, bam, miss. Round 6, miss. Round 7, you know, let's talk about that round 6. I got a great start. I thought I broke the barrier. Like, honestly, I don't know how Heisman got out. But he gets me out of the barrier, and I'm having to pull just a little bit. And I don't get to feed my rope when I'm pulling. When I was pulling, I didn't feed it out, which I'd have been fine because I get to not feed my rope sometimes in the practice pen, and I can reach a little bit with it, or I can rope close as long as the steer's real straight. But what got me in a bind was he was stepping left. He's got big, tall up horns. So when he stepped left and I had to manually turn it across there, I didn't keep it with the tip up and the heel down like you want to land an airplane. I didn't have it coming across there like that. I nosedived it right in behind his right horn. And I had that feeling of like, oh man, I was so close and almost claustrophobic. So round 7, got a great steer. He runs a little bit kind of, you know, like a Mexican fighting bull, just kind of head down. Not like low-headed, right? But like head down, kind of below his shoulder. But Sartain taught me how to head. Like, he taught me how to catch those low-headed steers. I'm not that worried about it. I thought, man, I don't want to be that close as I was last night. So I changed my game plan a little bit. I went out there to knock the barrier out 10 times in a row. And round 7, I miss it. And I don't miss it by about that much. But that much at the national finals is so much more than anywhere else we ever go. So now I'm late. Now that low-headed shot becomes a lot harder. And I blow it to the right, split the horns, miss. So then it would take, okay, we got to recalibrate. Now we got to bounce back. I've missed 2 in a row. You know, the first one I missed was almost like a mulligan. We didn't drop in the average. Uh, I just wanted to try. I thought I could catch up to Tanner and Patrick. You know, I knew if I did my job 10 times in a row, I could maybe catch up to them. As it turned out, I couldn't. They stayed rock solid, roped a heck of a rope, and congrats to both the Lone Star guys. They did an amazing job. It was awesome. But as that competitor, I'm thinking, you know, coming out of round 5, like, man, I can catch up to them. We just got to make up a little bit of time. That's it, 4 seconds. I think that's what we were behind. Well, then I miss. We only go to second in the average. It's not a big deal. Still a $60-some thousand check. Miss round 7. Boom. Now you're out. It's like, golly. I came out here to do this 10 nights in a row. You know, I missed the barrier a little bit on the first one, making a read on the steer. Like when I took off, the steer stuck his nose up. I picked up just a little bit. Boom, steer shot. Forced me to another swing. You know, you can make a reaction, and if it forces you into another swing, that's fine. But in round 7, I made a game plan, and it forced me into a bad go. That's not fine. That's a mental weakness. And that was not my ability causing me to miss. It was what was between my ears causing me to miss. And those are the ones that I can control. You're going to miss. You're human. Things are going to happen. All right? Any youngster out there listening, I want you to write that down. We have a human factor. We weren't perfect, right? But I can control what's between my ears and make reads and keep reacting to the situation in front of me. Don't ever game plan it in my own head. That's how I do best. So, round 8, I came back. Clint Davis sent me the coolest is the Warriors ethos. Man, it was so awesome. I read it every night, 8, 9, and 10, and I spun 3 really good steers. It was awesome to just recalibrate myself, you know, to bring that to center. This is a new battle tonight, right now. What happened last night has 0 effect, good or bad. And I think that's the part that I have to work on before next year. Is every practice, there has to be one steer in here that's worth all the chips, worth all the push-ups, worth all the stuff. I've got to become more mentally sound to sustain 10 days of this battle. Not 10 steers, it's 10 days. 10 short little sprints. And I was never very fast. So I got to be sharper mentally. But that's what I learned, I think, this year, bouncing for next year. That's what I'm going to prepare myself that way to find your center. And, you know, we ended on a high note. Won great the last 3 rounds. It was awesome. We ended up sneaking in there and winning this little check in the average. Come back. It was a great finals, great year. We're going to have a great Christmas. You know, we're going to have a great Christmas anyways. We don't try to find our happiness in the arena. It's not performance-based. But it always helps to have a little bit more Los Cocos money when we get home, let's be honest. So this year, did something new. The other day, I posed. I knew this was going to be my first solo trip at a podcast. I'm going to see how it was going to go. I love interviewing people. You know, I love talking to people. My wife's all the time like, hey, quit interviewing Jess Tierney. And I'm like, no, I love talking to him. You know, I'm sorry that he's been 2 of the 6 podcasts so far. But he's a great mind, and he's somebody that I love bouncing ideas off of. You know, because I think to be successful in any business venture, I would think it's a lot like rodeo, that you have to surround yourself with the people that help you. You know, be that mentally, be that technique, be it, you know, find me a good horse, you know, be it, you know, financial help. And I think the most important help is people's time. And Jess Tierney has always given me his time and his 100%, like, here's where he thinks, this is what I think. And he's a great yin to my yang on the way we see things. You know, Jake Long's the same way with me. We see, when I see a quarter, I see heads, he sees tails. And I think those people out there, if we don't try to prove our point to them, but more learn from what they're seeing, it can really help us a lot. You know, I think one of the problems in the world today is people aren't willing to look at from the other side. Like, what's happening? Okay, that's what you're seeing. Here's what I'm seeing. And educate ourselves based on a different point of view. And I've always thought that's helped me the most when it comes to my roping. And that's what I think Jess Tierney's always done, you know, with me. And I think that's why I try to have him on here so much. That, and, you know, he's always willing to talk to me. So put a mic in front of him. Let's see what if everybody else likes as much as I do. But this was going to be my first solo trip. And I want to be able to come on here. Let's get consistent this year with the schedule. All right. Last year, the Toter Tales was a lot of fun. But I wanted to see if I liked it. I wanted to see if I could do it. And I wanted to get school out of the way. So now that we're graduated, we can head it on off. But I wanted to see if I could make the ship run by myself. So I asked for a little help. And I wanted to know out there if you guys had some questions. Like, what questions would you want me to try to answer? Good or bad, I'll try them. Now, I ain't saying this. I tell my wife all the time, I got all the right answers. You just got to ask the right questions, you know? She doesn't think that's very funny, but the Austin Jones posed this to me on Facebook. He said, what was the most challenging thing for you when you started tripping, steer roping, if you will? That's a great question. And I think to answer it, I got to tell you what I did right. Okay? Obviously, having Jess, buddy of mine, you know, I always wanted to trip steers. I built my arena in 2017. I built it 200 wide. I knew that I would trip steers. I mean, I'm from Mays County, Oklahoma. I mean, this was steer roper you for a while. I mean, we've had some great cowboys come out of Oklahoma that steer rope. And so I want to steer rope. And it's something I've always wanted to do. I had a heel horse, Super Duty. I figure, you know, I don't get to heel much anymore. I love him. I'm not selling him. I'll just trip some steers on him. And so that was my plan. I was going to take Super Duty and just start tripping some steers. I'd tied stuff down in the pasture on him before and done stuff, so I thought, heck, we'll just go with that. And Jess took me by the hand and said, no, you need a good horse. Like, if you really want to do this, go buy a good horse. One that knows what he's doing, one that's safe, okay? And I was like, you know, all right, well, and I really wanted to compete, so I'm like, okay. All right, well, find me the horse. And he did. He went out, C.A. Lauer. He's like, man, Coleman's wanting to start tripping. He needs something safe. Would you please sell him your horse so he doesn't hurt himself? And because in my business, man, like steer roping is definitely a secondary event. I can't do anything that takes away from heading. You know, I can't change the angle of my swing. You know, everybody wants to talk about how you rope the horns differently when you steer rope, but I can't let the roping side affect my heading. I head for a living. I can't do that. It's not fair to Logan. And I already make him have to enter the weirdest rodeos now just to steer rope with me a little bit. So first thing I did good, I got a good horse. He was safe. I have lost my left stirrup. I've done the Justin Rumford Spider-Man impression on the side of him. He's tolerated it. He let me rope steer after steer after steer. That was a great day. That was the best thing I did, was go get a good horse. Second good thing I did, of course, I have Jess. Everything was text message in the beginning. I'd tie. I'd send him a video. Here's what you need to work on. And then I finally got enough nerve to call Cole Patterson and say, hey, would you please come rope with me? Like, I'll pay you for your day. Just, I need you to show me what I need to do, because I'm old and I'm sore. Like, it hurts to do this sometimes. So if I'm going to put the energy and the effort into it, I know I'm already starting out behind. I want the proper instruction. If you tell me this is what I need to do, then this is what I'm going to do every time. So I had him come out. J-Dub was there. He's filming. And that's another great thing I have. I got John Wayne with me every day of the week. That I go tie, I take John Wayne with me, because he always has a pocket knife. And when you're tripping, you need a pocket knife. And a guy that's handy with it in case you get in a jam. But it was great because I can always pick J-Dub's brain. But J-Dub's been great for 20 years. Like, he does it like second nature. So sometimes the stuff that he's not explaining to me that he just does naturally is the little step that I need. So it was great. I brought in Cole Patterson. We film him all day. Like, I mean, just randomly, J-Dub had the phone up, just recording him, so I could go back and watch it. You know, I went, next call was Scott Snedeker. I said, man, he said, hey, come down sometime when you're down here for San Angelo. I got up at 4 in the morning, drove to Scott's house, roped all day, drove back to run my second one at San Angelo. You know, and then, of course, I have Jess Tierney, and I'm always pestering Trevor Brazil. Always sending him videos. That's right. Trev, you should have let me have that trade at Pendleton, and I wouldn't be sending you videos like, is this low enough? Is this what you're talking about? Good horse, proper instruction. Those are the two things I did right off the bat. Now, the question was, what was the most challenging thing for me to starting out tripping? You know, I roped calves in college. I've headed, I've heeled. I feel very comfortable with my rope. The hardest thing for me so far has been, and everybody said it would be, like, I'm not silly. I know that I can't reach. You know, like JoJo Lamont might be the best at reaching and the busting. I'm not that athletic. I can't do it. So I've tried to fight that urge to reach. But what's become hard is in tripping, like Guy Allen, he roped when he got to the steer. But he didn't rope a shade before, you know? And there's times when you knock the start back and he's just right there. And I cut loose. When one more swing makes you faster. And fighting that urge of when I get a good start, to know that it's not where my rope hits him, it's where I can set him up at. That's been a hard thing for me. And the second thing, and I think this is why people don't do two events a lot. And Buddy Hawkins and I talked about this a lot. You know, I'm a rookie in the steer roping. And even though you don't get to go for the rookie of the year, even though I've rodeoed professionally now since 2005, I guess. So what's that? 15 years. 15 years. Week to Maggie. I thought I'd have a little closer to the exit by now, but at this point in my heading, I know how to fix things. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm always working. I'm always working on things, but I also know the things I can control. I also know the things that I really can't. And so mentally, I'm always in a pretty good place, whether I've won or lost. Everything in heading is an opportunity. If I just missed one, it's an opportunity for a bounce back. You know what I mean? If I just won something, it's an opportunity, both financially and mentally and momentum and just the whole deal. And then when you pick up a second event, you have to learn to embrace that suck again. There's times that you don't really know how to make it different. There's times that you're just getting beat on unmercifully, and you don't understand what to change. You try to fight against the current a little more. I think that's what's so incredible about, the Ty Murrays, the Larry Mahans, Trevor Brazil. You look at Stetson Wright, to be that dominant in two events, it is something, and I'm by no way comparing myself to those guys. I'm saying it is so impressive how those guys can dominate in two events, how they have embraced the suck of starting out a rookie again, even though you're you can be highly successful in one event, but to turn around and start at the bottom of the pile again in another event. And that's something that's often hard to recalibrate ourselves and go through that grind again. And when I say embrace the suck, what I mean is, it's just like here on the ranch. Some days are great, man. Some days it's fun. John Wayne will tell you, Ace will tell you, we rope, everything's gone great. We gather cows, nothing goes out of line. They all follow the feed truck. We don't have to rope anything. It's awesome. Those are great days. There's also days like today where the snow's blowing and you got to go hand walk 4 calves from the backside to try to get them caught up with mama. And there's just days that you're freezing, you're fixing a water line, you're muddy, you're terrible, and you just got to learn to embrace that suck, knowing there's going to be another great day ahead of us, right? Knowing how grateful you are to even be a part of this. And I think that's the hardest thing in steer roping so far, was that learning to embrace the suck again and start out as a rookie. And to fight that urge to cut loose of my rope when I get a good start. Because that's hard. That's what I do in the head all the time. What do I think? Brandon Bowers asked, what do you think about the rope horse futurity industry? And do you have any prospects I plan on entering? I did this year. I had a 6-year-old Slick by Design baby that we are so proud of. He can fly. He can score. He's a little bit psychotic. He's a lot of fun, and I look forward to him. And I really was looking forward to having him entered. One thing I have done is, I'm not a horse trainer. Billy Jack Sabins, he's a horse trainer. That guy's amazing. Clay Logan, he's a horse trainer. And Tate Kirchenschlager, he's a horse trainer. What I have gotten better about in my career is I understand that when I go practice, I'm practicing for me. I'm fortunate that I have several head horses that I like. I got some horses that I get to practice on, and I get to work on me. And when there becomes an issue, with my horse, we call him Trump because he's pretty brazen. He's pretty excitable. He's a lot of fun. He can do a lot of great things, and he can also really make you scratch your head sometimes. And, Trump is amazing, but I didn't have time to practice for Trump like Trump needs. And rather than take away from my time and my practice time, I send that horse. Clay Logan had to take him first and fix him in the box. And then I got him back. And then I sent him to Tate. And I wanted Tate to show him this year at the futurity. And he just told me just straight up, man, I don't think he's going to win there. And unless you're concerned with trying to push him more into the show world and make him more horse showy, that horse has a huge future for me as a jackpot horse. He's the first horse that I've ever had that I'll, possibly ride at the NFR and the BFI. And so, he said, man, if you're looking forward to having him as an open level head horse, take the entry fee money that you'd pay me and the help and all that for the futurity, be about $2,200. Take that $2,200 and start entering that horse, and go let him make his green mistakes in the open ropings, and allow yourself a little grace there to get beat on that little $2,200 nugget. Take that, put it in entry fees, go lose for a little while on him, let him learn to figure it out, and make yourself a horse. And I said, all right, that's what we did. I'd love to be a part of the futurity scene. Shane Boston, good buddy of mine, he's got a lot of great rope horse futurity horses. And I think it's getting bigger, and I think there's going to be a new futurity coming out, maybe that has a little bit more of a kind of like how the barrel racing has a 4D system, and I think that might be something that it's just hard for me to be realistic and say that I'm going to be able to go beat Billy Jack Sabins. I mean, he's amazing at that. That's what he is so good at that. Casey Hicks, all the great guys. Colby Lovell's made a great transition to it. Andy Holcomb, Cade Rice. I mean, those guys, that is their niche. That's what they do. And I think a system where I can go be a mediocre horse shower, right, and still have a chance to win something is encouraging to me. It's exciting. I think the Riata Buckle deal was really cool. I got to go ride Shane Boston's horse that Billy Jack had trained, and we had a lot of fun. It was a great deal. But I loved sitting up there. I told Shane B, I said, because we got a pretty good little breeding program ourselves, and we're going to have a lot of colts coming on. And that's something that I would like, all of them they're all Riata buckle horses. And I would love to get them in the Riata buckle and have some rope horse futurity prospects coming on. But I don't know if I'll be the one showing them, Maybe I send those horses to Clay Logan and Tate Kirkerschlocker and guys like that and say, hey, I'm going to sit up here and cheer you guys on. That's a lot of pressure. Not just soon you guys do it. But no, it's great. I think it's awesome for the horse industry. I think it's been great. It's been a game changer, and it's making a lot of young horses worth more money. And I think you can look at it two ways. I think you can say, it's putting a lot of pressure on young horses, but also the ones that come out of it, man, they're real. They're real horses, and a guy has a chance of them. Kyle Monger, I hope I said that right. I've heard you say you focus on the horn wrap buckle as your target. At what point does that become your sole focus? Once you hit the back of the box, ? Do your eyes stay locked on it throughout the entire run, or as soon as you know he's caught? That's a great question. I watch the buckle because it's shiny. And I read the book, The Inner Game of Tennis, and the seams of the ball. He talked about trying to hit, and see the way the seams are moving. Because if you can see that, then hitting the ball is pretty simple. And I've taken that to team roping because, what was it, like chimpanzees or something like that? I like seeing their own reflection in a mirror. So I always joke about I just like seeing something shiny. But what it does for me is I want to know where I finish. So I'm looking at it from the time I nod my head. I use it to score with. Like when you see me walk forward, even if I'm talking to Heisman or whatever, I lock on to that buckle. I watch the way it moves because especially in a World Series scenario, like if you look at this bandage on my hand from tying, thank you. If I'm sitting there watching it, when I nod, if it rolls, I can go. So I'm able to make a read on what the steer shows me. And at the rodeos, when you got to see, front leg around the end of the gate, if I watch that buckle and I can see the way he takes his first step, is it slow or did it bolt out of there? And I'm still, even though my focus is on that buckle, I can still see the picture around it. So I'm solely focused on the buckle. I can still see things around it, and I use that to score with. So now that I've been scoring with it, when I take off riding to him, like I've already got my target in my hand. Like I'm at the worst case scenario, I'm taking what's in my hand, and I'm going to make it hit that spot right there that I'm looking at. So I've been roping this steer since I left. So then once I've roped him, I dally, and I use it to set the corner. I look at the way when it comes to me, when his head and shoulders start coming to me, that's my cue to set my horse in the ground and turn. That opens the steer up. And as I'm pulling across the arena, if that buckle's always pulled down and to the left, then I know I'm giving my partner plenty of real estate to put his rope between the feet. And then as I go to finish, if I'm still pulling on that head, as I finish, then I've never given it back, and I've never allowed the steer a chance to get his leg out from the rope. Because I tell my partner all the time, it's his job to put him in it. Like it's his job to get his rope down there where the steer gets in it. Then it's my job to keep him in it. So I watch that target the whole time. I want to know where I want to finish my rope at, finish my loop at. I do the same thing when I heel with the left hawk. I want to see it. I want to see where I need to finish my loop at. Because if I can see it, then I can physically rope it. I think a lot of times people can fix a lot of problems with their eyes. Steph Curry, I say all the time, he's the greatest three-point shooter maybe ever. But if he didn't look at the back of the rim, I don't know how many he'd make, And a lot of times, if I'm real with myself, I didn't see the target clearly when I threw it. And so if I didn't see it and I missed, I can't really be mad because I actually just caught exactly what I was looking at. Nothing, you know what I mean? A lot of fun. What is one thing, my girl Wava says, what is one thing your sisters taught you as a kid that you don't want them reaching your daughters? I'm guessing that was supposed to say teaching your daughters. I don't know. That's a great question. I grew up with two great sisters. They taught me a lot of things about life, and it was great because to have a woman's perspective, when you start dating, when you start meeting people, when you get older and you have kids, and I've just been blessed with women around me my whole life. I was raised with, mom and two sisters in the house. My dad, of course, but he was 2 hours away, and So I had a lot of influence from them, and I think it's been great seeing the coin from that side all the time. And I had two awesome sisters that taught me a lot, and honestly, I would let them teach every one of their lessons to my kids, because I knew one thing for certain, and this is something that Samantha told me and Brandy told me a long time ago. Like, if I was ever in a bind, right, provided my two sisters did put me in the trunk of a car when I think I might have been 7. I think I was 7 years old, and they put me in a car, in the trunk of it, and drove around. Didn't just put me in there. They put me in there, shut the trunk, and drove. I may have been being a little fussy, but in fact, Samantha was the first person that ever hit me with a closed fist in the face. Yeah, took the right hook from her, and taught me there's times to keep your mouth shut. I don't know if I've learned that lesson great a lot as I've gotten older, but they were also the first ones that when I was a kid riding the bus and had the heater seat. You know, for any of you out there, y'all remember riding the bus on a cold day and there was like 2 seats with a heater? We were the first kids picked up. And I had a high school kid try to take my seat, and I was like, no, I'm here. I've been here for an hour on this bus. He gets onto the last street. He wants my seat, and I was like, no. And my sister went ahead. Like, he was getting aggressive, and my sister threw him to the back of the bus. It was awesome. So, I mean, they've always been the ones that had my back no matter what. And I think the one thing they taught me as a kid, and that's always stuck with me, is that no matter what, I could always call them. Didn't matter what time it was, didn't matter what the problem was. You know, I can always call my sisters. And so I hope that they teach me that. And we were tight. You know, we grew up, we were close. And I think I hope my girls are as close as we were. You know, and I hope they know they can always rely on me like I know I can rely on them, and vice versa. So I don't really have anything there that, I mean, I don't know if anybody will put them in the trunk like I did. But, and finally when somebody asked this on the other day, I did a Toter, like a little, we were out J-dubbing around, and made a little video on Facebook, and somebody asked, what NFR head horse do I think would be head horse of the year? Just one of them. That is a great question. There's a lot of amazing animals out in the world. One thing I've never had is the horse that I ride, like I said earlier, like that I would ride at the BFI or the Reno and the national finals. Like, Booger might have been the closest thing. I rode him at Reno one time, but that, to me, a horse of the year is a horse that you start the year on, you can ride all year, and then you ride at the national finals, and that's a horse of the year. That's why, like, Logan has Drago. It's a 2-time horse of the year. There's not been, Jake Long had Colonel. I think Rich Skelton's probably the only person that's had a 3-timer in a row. Maybe Diesel. I can't really remember that well, but those were horses of the year. Those are horses those guys rode all year long. And in the heading, it gets very difficult because the way the setups change so much. Like Heisman, I think Heisman is the best horse of the national finals. He's the best horse of the national finals for me by a long shot. And he allows me to do my job really well, and I think a lot of people would be successful on him out there if they rode him. So he would be the head horse of the finals, per se. But I'm not riding him at Reno. I mean, I have, but I'm not taking him to the BFI. I'm not going to take him to a long score big rope. And not saying I couldn't, but there's just better options for me. And so, I'm very fortunate and blessed in that instance that I get to, compartmentalize him. He has his specialty, and we capitalize on that as setups like San Antone, obviously the American, and, those kind of setups where I need that fast little race car here in the first 30 feet. He does a great job. And so horses of the year, I thought Tanner Tomlinson, the roan he rode that belongs to Corey Rallman, that's an amazing horse. You see him a lot of places. He jackpots on him with the big ropings. He rides him all year, a lot of places. Even though he has other horses, that horse seems like he would fit a lot of different situations and scenarios. He scores really good, great in the field, awesome in the field. I think Biscuit, Andrew Ward's horse, Biscuit, he fits everywhere. Andrew rides him everywhere. They have a run that's very fast with him, and I think that's another great contender. Clay Tryon rode the brown horse that we hadn't seen a whole lot. I guess he came from up north maybe. I don't really know the backstory on that horse much, but that horse looks really good. So it's interesting. I don't know. That's a great question. I think it can go a lot of different ways, but for me personally, a horse at the national finals that people have rode at the BFI at Guthrie, when it's, you got to see 4 foot past the end of the gate, and then to turn around and ride him at the national finals, that's a special quality. Jake Clay has one, Son. That horse has won the BFI, both at Guthrie, both in Reno. He won second this year at Reno. And then Zach rode that horse at the national finals too. So those are awesome horses. Admiral would probably fit that bill. I would feel comfortable enough now to ride Admiral at the NFR if I wanted to. If I didn't have Heisman, maybe, But he can be a little tight and a little cheaty. And then I'm probably not going to ride him at the BFI or somewhere like that anymore, just based on, Admiral's injury is now like when you sprain your ankle really bad. It's easier to sprain it again. And so, knowing that, we can still get a lot of good out of him. I plan on using him a lot this summer. In the normal setups, he allows me to be very fast. So I probably won't ever have a chance to, I don't know, promote him out there for like a Horse of the Year award type deal, even though you could in all those scenarios. But, sound wise, let's just make sure that I can get him in the right places to set him up to let me have Heisman. So, that's where I think there's a lot of great horses that get great horses to the finals. Speedy, for years, he had Bob and Viper. He had two horses. Viper fit all the buildings, and he could ride Viper pretty much wherever he wanted to, but he had Bob that was such an amazing animal. When you made it any kind of long score, like that horse was so fast, he cowed so good, and he scored so good, even though he had his own little quirks. He'd hop, and sometimes he might buck after he faced. That's weird little quirks. And I think one thing that's cool is anybody that went to the national finals and that you ask this same question, they're going to tell you that they tolerate a lot of little quirks with great horses. So I would say those two. The roan horse, Coy Roman. That's a long way for me to tell you that I think Coy Roman's roan horse that Tanner Thomason rode, and Biscuit. If I had a chance, I would love to try that Marty on. You know what I mean? Let's be honest. And, Junior D's has a great head horse. And those are horses that can't win it because they're not, they're papers or whatever. But some great horses out there and some great talent. I thought it was an awesome year this year roping. I think it's interesting that not that many people caught. I caught 7 steers and placed in the average. You wouldn't have seen that years ago, even with they got 3 loops. Let's take all that out of the equation. I think the NFR in 1996, I think more people would have caught 10. But I think what's changed so much is you have to, the rounds pay so good that guys are trying to make a living for their families and they're trying to win. And you can't fault them for coming across there and doing, trying it on. It doesn't work one round, they bounce right back, because if it works 4 times, that's 100,000. And hey, we got to learn to define success our own ways. Not going to the national finals and catching 10 may not be a successful trip for you if you didn't go to your full potential, if that makes sense. That would be the most nerve-wracking thing, to be out there about round 7 or 8, and you might be leading the average, but you hadn't won a whole lot yet. I think back to 2017 when Billy Jack Saban's and I, we placed in the average deep, like 3rd maybe. But like round 8 or 9, man, we'd only had like 15,000 won, and that gets stressful. We won good in a couple rounds there at the end, and then end up leaving with almost 100,000. But when you're looking at $13,000 and it's round 7, you're just feeling the opportunity go away. And I think it's cool that guys, now try to capitalize on all the opportunity ahead of them, not just that end carrot at the very last of it. So great questions, man. I hope I answered them great. Hope y'all enjoyed my first solo trip, and I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and a great new year. Let's ring in 2023 and make it our best one yet. What do y'all say, man? I'm excited. Big tripping's coming up. I got Odessa, then we got the San Antonio tripping. Those are kind of big game changers for the season. Rodeos are getting kicked back off. Got entered Odessa, and Denver's coming around, and so it's going to be a whole new year. My favorite time of year, the winter. I love the winters. My family gets to go with me. The kids get to go. Everybody gets to go enjoy it. So hope everybody out there has a wonderful Christmas. Great new year. We're going to try to make the Toter Tales a weekly deal. Thanks for following along. Check us out, YouTube, wherever you found us, and any of our great sponsors that help make it possible. Community Coffee. Grab yourself a Community Coffee. Go check out some beautiful signature living quarters. All right, they redid the whole Toter home, made it a beautiful showcase. Got to hang out with them down there at the finals. Abby, man, she has such an eye. I promise you. If you just say, design it the way my wife would want it, you're going to be happy, I promise you. And as always, check out my boy Tyler Boston, ERS Gunite, for all your needs. It might be cold now, but things are going to heat up in the spring. You might need a new pool. Who knows? Thanks for checking us out. Until tomorrow, you guys remember, never miss an opportunity to make somebody else's life a little bit better.